Hi everyone, my name is Ludivine. I am a research fellow at Navi. So Navi is the scientific research department of the Centre André Anzelin. We are an educational center and research center in the Biopole campus of Lausanne, which is in Switzerland. And we are very much supported and happy to be supported by the WNF. We are educational member and research member of the WNF. So thank you so much to all this community to be there for us. So today I will present this conference about AMR and tree remedies and also the scientific posture. So I am research fellow and I'm also a TEM practitioner, so practitioner in traditional European medicine. It's one of the 4 branches of the naturopathic medicine in Switzerland, naturopathic care, and I'm also a psychologist. So thank you, and let's start with the conference. Let's start this European conference. I will just share my screen quickly. So today is about naturopathic approach to reduce the antimicrobial resistance. And also we will look at it through the scientific posture and the use of tree remedies. So the first thing I wanted to tell you is that here we are. So it means like we are a lot of practitioners really through the world. We are a big community as naturopaths. So it's really so much hope in what we're doing, and at the same time, so much work. But we are more than 110,000 naturopaths or naturopathic doctors, and we are practicing over 107 countries, according to the HTA. So, which is the Health Technology Assessment of the WNF. It's a reference book that is cited in reference. So I hope you have a sense of what it is. So this is all scientific data, and we are dealing with like 5.5 million patients per month, according to this studies and the surveys. So this is very important because we have a huge population to follow, and another important point is that naturopathic care is cost effective, and particularly for chronic condition or higher disease burden. But we have an approach that could be really cost effective. So the point is that when we approach the antibiotic issue, our approach is supposed to be efficient and to reduce the problematic of antimicrobial resistance, but we also have good arguments to say that we are also cost effective by doing it. Also, when we are working with patients, we are employing a range of treatment modalities. So we do an individualized protocols or interventions, and we have multimodal intervention. It means that we are working with at least, so in the studies, they said 4 or more different treatments during a naturopathic visit. So it means that we are really working to make interventions work together. Like we can use nutritherapy and associate it with like exercise or with massage or with phytotherapy. So we have this art those traditions of combining interventions, and this is really important in this thematic, because we don't have one magic pill that can make people avoid antibiotics, but we have a multimodal approach that will really help people to have a good soil and a good health, and will help them really prevent the use of antibiotics. Also help them, reduce the resistance and prevent a new episode of infection that will need antibiotics. So I hope my English is good enough for this conference. I'm really doing my best. But so we have common therapeutic modalities, usually lifestyle modifications, applied nutrition, clinical nutrition, herbal medicine, etc. Now this is a strength. This is why we are very strong dealing with that. So first, I have one resource to share with you, and I hope it's been shared massively in this European Congress. It's the website of the WNF concerning AMR, because they've done an amazing job from, I think, 2018 to really gather a lot of scientific research and a lot of data about naturopath and AMR. So we have a lot of resources on this website. We will look at it after. And the first thing that they say, and that is very useful to you to practice and also to give to the patients you're following or the clients you're following, is really this poster, because it says the 6 basic things you have to do. So the first thing is to support the immune system. So as naturopath, we really work on it a lot on a very deep level, supporting the immune system. So we do it on very different ways. We identify the underlying cause, and this is the causalism principle. That is the foundation of our practices. And also we explore all the natural treatment options. We will have a look at how can we know that one treatment option, one intervention has a good effect on reducing antimicrobial resistance. Also, we can advise people to avoid meat with antibiotics, not to share antibiotics, and to finish their tab when they have like 10 days and they're doing only 5 or 4. And sometimes they throw it in, like in India, sometimes they throw it in the river, and it's very bad. It gives like, it's more like a global, local problem after that. And also not to use it for viral infections. So those are basic advice that we can give people. But then if we look more in detail about this website, so let's have a look at the website together, because this is very important. So I'm just sharing with you this part. So hope you can go on the website and you can just have a look at like global or general resources on AMR and naturopathy, but also you can have a look at like, so you can search by population, like for example, this is of acute pediatric respiratory infections. There has been a study on it that is recent. And this is a very interesting thing to look at. But if you have one system in mind, like for the cystitis, so urinary infections, you have to have a look at the urinary page, and then for these conditions, you have advice on prevention, on assessment and diagnosis, naturopathic diagnosis, and also you have naturopathic treatment. So this is a part that is very important for us, because you have here, it's literature-based, it's scientific-based literature. So it means that everything that is written here is supported by scientific literature. So you can rely on it, really. So if you are wondering what kind of phytotherapy has been proven efficient and safe for your patients, you can go on there. So you can see, like, for example, you have this D-mannose sugar, that could be good, and you have the thyme, Thymus marrocanus, that could be good. You have the cantaris in homeopathic remedies. So then you in acupuncture, so you can then mix and associate the interventions for a synergy of actions. So here you have a lot of interventions and a lot of remedies that or natural remedies or approaches that have been proven efficient. So you can combine them. This is one point that I wanted to give you, and you have a lot of resources and general resources about it. So today we will not have a look at this. Sorry, I just want to start sharing again this and have it on a big screen. Just a second. Okay. The diaporama. Okay. So now you are seeing the diaporama. And so one thing I want to tell you, we all have to get this doubting therapist posture when it comes to AMR, and remedies in naturopathy. So the scientific posture is very important in clinical practice. So it's a weapon also for you in your posture as a therapist who doubts, because it doesn't mean you have to become a researcher or a scientist yourself. But it means embodying a scientific posture of questioning and discernment, enabling us to make informed and enlightened choices and to take measured risk when you make a clinical decision. Also, it's a guarantee of legitimacy, security, rigor in your practice. And the one thing is that you have to navigate the cursor of between two things when you're a clinical practitioner. You don't have to become a pure scientist, but you have to navigate the cursor between the empiricism. So the empiricism is the experience, is the knowledge of experience, of heritage, of traditions. It's also about your fundamental principles, the one you are following. And on the other hand, you have science. Science is sometimes it's a lot about research, evidence-based. It's biomedical science, integrative medicine science, methodology. So this, all of this creates knowledge, okay, on the science part, but also on the heritage tradition experience. In your manuals of phytotherapy, you have a lot of knowledge, and all of them are not based on science. Sometimes it's based on a lot of experience, a lot of clinical practice. So this also creates knowledge on the left side, but you have knowledge on the right side. So you have to move the cursor and just to be able to make those two sides communicate together. And for this, you will doubt, like you have this moment of doubt, like when you think, oh, this study shows this, but my experience or my precedent therapist colleagues and mentors, they say something also different. So how can I think about it and combine those two things? This is a posture, honestly, and the doubt shifts as answers are found and as new questions arise. So we will talk about trees today. I want to give you I want us to have the time to think about how trees can help us dealing with AMR. Because, so the first point of view that I have, so I'm working on trees for like years, for at least 5 years, and as a practitioner and as a researcher. So this is a very big thematic for me, because trees are a key element in the ecological crisis, the societal crisis, and also so on the environmental point of view, they are really a key for our future. We need to protect them and think about how we can preserve them and how they can preserve us. So this is very important, because trees have been a source of remedies and of care for us and of therapy for centuries and millenniums. So we worked with tree in Celtic traditions, in Scandinavian traditions for like 1,000 years. So it means they are efficient and they are safe, and they are a resource for us, really, to deal with health. And they can be resource on different levels. So the one thing that I want to say, a parallel, is that the trees are kind of really specialists in regulating bacterial and fungal populations, because they don't have antibiotics like us. And if they are bad, if they are not okay in a situation, they can't take their legs or their roots and run. They have to remain at the same place. They move very few. in their life. So in terms of distance, they move a little bit. They kind of move in the they don't stay at the same place all their life, but they move very, very slowly. So they are kind of specialists at dealing with those populations because they have to. They are everywhere around them. Sometimes they are very much attacked by some opportunistic like bacteria or insects or everything, and they can die, and they are very vulnerable to some infections. But most of the time, if they are healthy, they can resist. And so it's a very interesting thing. We have this those studies on trees that now we know that trees can affect the fungal biomass of the ground. So now we're staying in the forest, just in the nature environment. So they are influencing fungal biomass, the bacteria and fungus ratio in the soil. So they give informations and they give signals, and through different ways, and they can change this in the soil. They can change the pH also, the base cations like calcium, magnesium, phosphorus, and everything. And also the tree identity, so the species, they can influence the soil microbes and nutrients cycles. So this is super interesting for us. I gave you some of the reference on the diaporama. If you want to have a look forward, those are kind of like recent research on it. There are lots of books on how the trees are functioning in their environment, and there has been more and more research about it in the last 10 years. And those research are not only for botanists, they are very interesting for us because the way the trees can function in nature have very much sense in our posture as naturopaths, because then we can guess or we can think about how they could act, those tree substance or the tree remedies, how it can function in our body, in our soil. In French, we say the terrain. The terrain is like the terrain is like the ground or the soil that is our cells and the liquids around the cells, and also the glandular system. So this is a very French-speaking concept, but I will say in English soil because there is no easy translation of this concept, but our soil as humans is something, and the soil of the garden, of the forest, is another thing. So we have different soils, but still in those soils we have microbes, we have fungus, we have all of this. And the strategy of trees is usually not to kill every bacteria and fungus. They are not like eradicating those populations. They are better at regulating the populations. And this is the problem we have with AMR. As the conventional medicine, God bless them, is saving us when we have a septicemia. We are trying to eradicate the microbe, like the bacteria or the infection. If we have a problem like of mycosis, fungal infection, we will just take a medicine that is trying to kill every mushroom, every fungus in our body. But it will kill also in other parts. So this is the problem we have. This is not a regulation message, it's a killing message. The trees are more in the regulation functionment. And this is really good for us because this is what we want. In our body, we can see the roots of the trees or the plant have this power in the tree side of regulating those populations. And this is an image behind of the intestine. So, and the velocity inside the intestine. So it's a virtual image with the bacteria and with the molecules coming and the velocity of the intestine. So they are seeing a lot of bacteria and viruses and fungus come and go, and with the food, the fiber and everything. So what we want is not to kill them all. We want to have a regulation impact, because we think that it is the the most intelligent approach if we want to live long and stop facing the same problems, the same walls that we are facing now. We should not kill any bacteria on any way. We should think about how we can regulate them. Like this example is the Candida albicans. So for mycosis in the intestine or in the vagina, we have to say, okay, Candida albicans is always going to be with us. Like this is a levure, I don't know how to say in English, but this is an element that is always going to live with us in our bodies. So we can't like just eradicate Candida albicans, but we can try to live with it. And just to tell this this levure, we can tell it like, be quiet, like calm down. You can take a little part, but you can't take too much. When our immune system is just collapsing, then it takes a lot of space. So we need to say those bacteria to just, this is not a bacteria, but we need to say to those elements, just remain at your place, just be quiet. You can have a population somewhere, but you don't, this population should not be everywhere and at any time. So for tree remedies, we have different in mind. We have to have time and strategies in mind. So we are thinking like for antibiotic use, let's think about otitis, like this infection in the ear. We are thinking, what can we do before? What are we doing during the infection episode? And what can we do after? So we have different times and different strategies. So before, of course, naturopaths are working on the prevention side. So you have a lot of resources on the AMR website. And also we are supporting the immune system. Like I was saying in the mycosis infection case, if we support the immune system with different plants or nutrition, etc., of course, there will be less infections and the Candida albicans will take less space. Also, during the episode of infection, we have naturopathic treatments that can help. If we have a septicemia, we go to the hospital and you take the antibiotics. Of course, God bless antibiotics at this moment. But if this is otitis or cystitis, maybe we can work with different strategies as long as the life is not engaged or the organs are still protected and this is still safe. We can work with naturopathic treatments if this is light or mild situation. And after, we can still work with naturopathic treatments to really stabilize, create a stabilization in the soil of the person. So the quality of the tissues, the quality of the internal skin of the mucose. And we're working on prevention again. So, for example, with trees, I will just talk about a few trees now. We can work, so I'm talking about trees because some of the trees, you will have them on the AMR website. You have some trees that are, you have literature on this website, so it's very easy. But today I will talk about trees that are not on the website, so we can have another approach, not because they are not efficient, but just because maybe there were not enough research on the really evidence-based practice level. This strategy is like in terms of experience. So it's empiricism and scientific approach together. So like before, we can work with the Rosa canina. Rosa canina is this tree, this small tree that is like really useful to support the immune system, especially with children, on children. So you have the drops, the bud macerate drops. We will talk about it after. And you can work with alder, with black alder. We will talk about it a lot with this on this conference. So black alder is a tree that is very interesting if we deal with antibiotic prevention. also during, we can really work with black alder. And after, we could use other trees. We can keep going with the Rosa canina and black alder, but we could also work with Euglans regia, so it's walnut, and maybe beech, for example. We will see why. So let's have a look at one tree for today. So Alnus glutinosa, this is the black alder. It's a tree that is really growing next to lakes, river. It needs like water. And this is a really interesting tree that we are using kind of a lot in France and Switzerland. So we are using mostly the macerate of bud. So bud glycerin macerate. But on the research side, for this tree, there is various research, but it's a bit poor and it's hard to find on the big tools of research that are PubMed for biomedical science or Cochrane. We don't have that much research, and it's hard to find recent and clear research on the therapeutic effects of the black alder. There are some, but it's not super satisfying for me. Like we have some research, for example, that are in vitro. So there is a potential antimicrobial properties of Alnus glutinosa and a very low level of toxicity. But it's in vitro, it's not on humans. And it's been done on water extract of leaves and bark. So because we're working more with bud macerates, for us, it's interesting, but it's not a really clear sign on a scientific research level. So we have our doubting therapist posture and we're thinking, okay, is it enough to work with it? And also we have on the EMA website, which is the European Medicines Agency, we had an assessment report on Alnus glutinosa, and we had a link, but this report disappeared, and we are ending on a page that says it's not working. So this is really, and we can't find this report anywhere. So we don't have any data from the EMA. Why does it disappear? We don't know. But then on the clinical side, almost all the manuals on phytotherapy and chemotherapy, so the therapy with buds, are mentioning it in the management of antibiotic therapy strategy. So it means it is something. It is taught in the naturopathic schools, and numerous books are preaching its use and virtues. So I gave you a small list that all the books where they are talking about this tree, and also this tree in the management of those antibiotic therapies. So there must be something. Okay, we don't have a lot of scientific data, or sometimes they are a bit blurry, but as adapting therapists, we also have the empiricism. So we have to work with empiricism, and all those books are made by professionals, by clinicians, by doctors sometimes. Also, they are based on research, but sometimes we don't find the research. Sometimes we do find them. Sometimes they're based only on experience, and some people have 50 years of experience, and they are sharing all their knowledge and strategies with us. So we have to take them in consideration. So it is described as a natural antibiotic or a complement to antibiotics. So if you take antibiotics at the moment, you can take it like at the same time, for example. So like I took one book and I give you two citations, like remedies of acute inflammatory phenomena with mucosal starting point and a clear suppurative tendency. So when it has a mucosal starting point. Very interesting for bronchitis, for otitis, and for cystitis, like with a suppurative tendency. So suppurative tendency is very interesting for like the otitis, bronchitis, etc. that spreads. This is a really good remedy. And also it's complementary to antibiotics because it treats the inflammatory after effects, and it may be resolved at tissue and circulatory level. and in less advanced stage, eliminating antibiotics. So it means if you take the Alnus glutinosa in really early stages of the disease, it could avoid antibiotics. This is what we are looking for. But even if it's a bit advanced stages, we can use them to help resolve the inflammation and protect the mucoses. So we say in France and Switzerland, we use it more as a bud glycerol macerate. So this is maceration of buds in alcohol, glycerin, and water. And in a general strategy, we often associate it with other macerates. So I give you an example. So for a 40-kilogram child with this permanent congestion, so this is from literature, of the rhinopharynx, and who has so the child is a bit has a cold and a congestion in the rhinopharynx. And if this child has a tendency like to this infection to just spread and become otitis or bronchitis, then we could use, for example, the Rosa canina and Alnus glutinosa together. And for children, we can use the 1DH macerate. So it means the dilution is a bit higher. And then we can use 40 drops in the morning of Rosa canina and 40 drops in the evening of Alnus glutinosa. This is one strategy that could be individualized. And on a lifestyle, so because we combine interventions as naturopath, we could think about on the lifestyle and nutrition, we can advise 2-day baked apple mono diet and a bit gluten-free week. And in hydrotherapy, we have the compress techniques when we use the warm compress on the ear every 10 minutes and the very cold around the neck at the same time. So we are changing the compress. Those are very traditional hydrotherapy techniques that are free. We don't pay for anything. We have to learn them. Then we have to apply them and take the time with the child or teach the parents, for example, in this case. So you have the reference in the books just on this diaporama. This is one strategy we can use. And after the storm, we can try to work with different trees. For example, we have the Alnus glutinosa that will continue to balance mucous membranes and regulate the blood flow. So it will help the inflammation to really resolve, because sometimes we have chronic otitis, for example, on children, because the mucous membranes are still on an inflammatory level of low-grade inflammation. So what we really need to do is to resolve this inflammation, so it doesn't just burn and each time there is a disbalance. So we can keep working with the Alnus glutinosa, or we can work with Fagus sylvatica, beech, because it stimulates the gamma globulins in the areas that have been weakened by repeated infections or antibiotic therapy. So this tree is very important in the after the storm or in the prevention part, because it really helps those areas that has been weakened by the antibiotic therapy. The last one is Juglans regia, because it helps regenerate the intestinal flora. So that's super interesting for us, because we are working a lot with probiotics when there is an antibiotic problem or an antibiotic use. We are a lot of us are working with probiotics. So we have to combine them with something. What I'm saying with tree remedies is that sometimes, most of the time, I combine them with probiotics. But we have this strategy, like only with vegetable and only with this world, this tree world, that can be combined with something else. So for Juglans regia, is super interesting. We can have, after the infection, we can work with this tree and we can combine it with probiotics, for example. We can do it with beech and Alnus glutinosa also, no problem. So for example, this is another example of treatment. We can use mother macerate this time, so it's D0, so it's very concentrated. it's 1 for 120 concentration, 1 for 20. So you have 5 drops 3 times a day for 3 weeks after the antibiotic therapy, okay, for adults. So here it is about the strategies you can use with trees. It was a very small introduction, but this is one approach you can have to really balance scientific knowledge and empiricism knowledge. So this is one example on Alnus glutinosa and on tree remedies in general. If you want to know more on tree remedies, so keep going with the naturopathic trainings wherever your country is. And we also have more continuous training on tree medicines. So the next one is the 6th of September 2024. And this is a special online training during one day. The course is 1 day long. And you can find the video and the registration on the boutique, on the platform, so on the CAH boutique. So thank you so much for your attention, and I'll leave you with this small video about tree medicine, and I wish you good luck and for the rest. Thank you.
Our one-day continuing education course to integrate trees and their precious remedies into your practice. From Scandinavian forests to Swiss or Spanish meadows, the trees of Europe have stood by our side through the ages and civilizations. Their intelligence and plant sensibility are currently the subject of scientific research, discovery, and rediscovery. From Celtic traditions to ultra-modern phytotherapy, the ways in which trees are used to heal and guide mankind have evolved. Their molecules and energy have a profound effect on the human body, enabling us to develop varied and profound therapeutic strategies. How can trees help caregivers? Can we support the immunity of the youngest children with tree remedies? How can we work on antibiotic resistance with alderbud? This one-day course is a cross-disciplinary introduction to tree medicine, combining phytotherapy, gemotherapy, nutritherapy, and energetics. It will enable you to master concrete therapeutic approaches and understand the energetic and physical issues involved in working with the trees. This course is recognized as a continuing education credit for Swiss therapists and naturopaths. Let's meet on the NVS platform or the CAH website for more information and registration.